Hey everyone, welcome back. For those of you who are new here, my name is Brittany. I'm a health coach and nutritionist, and my channel is all about helping you to create delicious, low FODMAP meals to improve your digestive health. If you're into it, go ahead and subscribe. We put out a new video each week. So today we're making bone broth, which is one of my favorite things to drink in the morning on an empty stomach, especially when my stomach's not feeling great, because it's full of collagen, which is coming from the bones. And collagen is great because it's going to help to heal and repair a damaged gut lining, which is something that happens to a lot of people with IBS, and especially other things like Crohn's and colitis and diverticulitis, things like that. Collagen is the protein, which is a building block that's going to help rebuild that tissue. I've made bone broth a lot of different ways. This recipe right here that I'm gonna show you today is the most efficient way to do it, in my opinion. Normally, people who cook bone broth boil it on the stove all day, and I just don't got time for that. And you probably don't either. So even though we are going to be making this chicken broth quickly, we're not gonna sacrifice any of the rich collagen texture in there. You'll know a good bone broth when it's like gelatinous. That's what we're going for. So if you guys wanna learn how to make it, keep watching. So typically when people make bone broth, they're gonna be combining bones, whether it's chicken or beef. I don't really see people using pork, but you could. And a bunch of like root vegetables and herbs and like spices, and you're gonna be cooking it with water on the stove all day until it reduces. What I'm gonna do today is I'm going to cook it in my Instant Pot. I'm gonna pressure cook it for 2 hours to really like get all of the collagen and nutrients out of the bones. And then we're gonna take the lid off and simmer it for about an hour and a half to get the water to evaporate. And that's what's gonna concentrate all of that flavor and the collagen. So today I'm gonna be using frozen chicken carcasses from like the rotisserie chickens that you buy in the store. I usually get the unseasoned ones from Sprouts, but there are times that I do eat the regular ones from Costco. I just don't eat the skin because it has like garlic and stuff on it. But I'm usually fine, I don't have any like reactions or anything. You wanna make sure that when you are prepping your chicken carcass before it goes into the bag, that you cut off that little rubber like string thing that kind of like holds the chicken in place, because you don't want that in your broth, and it's going to be really hard to get it out once it's already frozen together. Okay, so here we have 3 of our carcasses. We're just going to dump them in completely frozen. Next, I'm going to add some carrots. I'm not even going to peel these. I'm not even going to cut off the ends right here because we're just going to strain them anyway. So I'm just going to give them a rough chop and throw them in. I'm using 3 carrots here today, but the great thing about bone broth is that you can literally just throw in anything that you have in the fridge that's going to give it flavor. So root vegetables are really good at that. You could add a little bit of celery, but be careful with the celery because it is high in FODMAPs. If you wanted to add celery, I would keep it to 1/3 of a stalk, so like this much. The other ingredient that I love to use in my bone broth is ginger. I love ginger. It's a great anti-inflammatory, and it just has like a really nice flavor. So for this, I'm not gonna peel this either. I'm just gonna slice it thinly. So I'm just doing slices about this thin. I would say this is about 3 inches of like a thick piece of ginger. It's kind of hard to measure fresh ginger, but I've noticed that most people do it like inches. So now we're just going to throw these in as well. So it's a good handful. Next, we're going to add cilantro because I think cilantro just goes great with ginger. And you know I love cilantro. So I'm actually going to cut off the stems and throw the stems in because I don't want to waste the tops. Like, I'll use this in something else. Oh, I love that smell. Okay, next we're going to be adding a lemon peel. I'm just gonna cut off the rind like this, and I wanna make sure to not get too much of the white part. That's called the pith, and it's actually bitter. And one time I put in the lemon whole, like I just cut it and squeezed it and then threw it in there, and that batch of bone broth was so bitter. I suffered through it, but it was so bitter. I would not recommend it. This part is pretty annoying, but it's worth it. You could also use a lemon zester, but I don't have one of those. I do have like a little grater, but It's dull also. Speaking of which, I actually signed up for a Subscribe Star. If you guys want to donate to me, and I can put out new videos for you, get some more kitchen equipment, and hopefully we'll make some high quality videos for you at a more regular basis. Cause like, you know, I still have to work. So, and I also want to say that thank you guys so much for subscribing. We're at 250 subscribers right now, the time that we're filming this video, and it's a quarter of the way to getting monetized. So thank you guys so much. All right. So now we have all of these little pieces right here. This one's actually got a little bit too much white on there for me. So I'm gonna press this flat against the cutting board and just take the knife and like cut this little bit off. So I'm so sorry I haven't put out a video for you guys in the past couple of weeks. I started a new job, so that's kind of been taking a lot of my time and energy. And I feel like I haven't really like spoken to you guys much about me and like my life, even though I've been making videos for you for like 6 months now. So I don't know, maybe I'll start to get comfortable on camera and open up a little bit more, who knows. I am planning on shooting a video with my story on there, like, you know, why I'm here on YouTube making these very specific recipe tutorials and like how much this diet has helped me. So we'll keep an eye out for that. I wasn't very good at peeling this lemon today. Usually I can get it in like bigger pieces, but I swear whenever I'm in front of the camera, like I just mess up. Okay, so here we have our lemon rind, and we're just gonna throw this in. Okay, so next we have our salt and pepper. I have 2 teaspoons of salt here and then a half a teaspoon of whole peppercorns. So I'm just gonna throw those in. And lastly, a very important ingredient, we have our apple cider vinegar. I have 2 tablespoons here, and this is actually what's going to help to leach all of the amazing minerals and collagen and everything out of the chicken carcasses. Okay, so now I'm just gonna take this over to the sink and fill it with water. I'm gonna fill it to the, where is it, the fill line. So you see this max line right here? That's where I'm gonna fill it with water. I'm using an 8-quart Instapot today, but if you have a 6-quart, you might only wanna do 2 chicken carcasses. I feel for my Instapot, the larger one, 3 carcasses is like the best. It's like the sweet spot. Okay. All right. So another thing that I forgot to mention is that not only can you freeze your carcasses, you know, over a few weeks and use that in your bone broth, you can also keep like a plastic bag in the freezer with just like veggie scraps. So sometimes I'll do that and I'll keep like potato peels in there. When I peel carrots, I can put like the stems of cilantro or parsley or whatever in there. So that's just another good way to be really efficient with this recipe. Okay, so now I'm just going to put the lid on and pressure cook this on high for 2 hours. It's gonna take a while to pressurize, which is like the most annoying thing about using an Instant Pot, but it's totally worth it for this recipe. Okay, so while that's cooking, I thought we could sit down and have a little chat about IBS flare-ups and ways we can manage that. All right, let's just have a little seat here. Got my tea here. I love this tea. A friend of mine gave it to me. It's like a Russian blackcurrant tea. It's so good. I posted it on my Instagram today, so hopefully, you know what, I'll post it again the day that this video comes out because it is so good. Okay, so I don't know what flare-ups are like for you, but for me, like, I just, let's see, what are my flare-ups like? I become an insane person. My last flare-up, I like had a total crying spell. It's really weird. So, you know, I typically am low energy, I'm cranky and moody, and I just don't feel very good. So here are 10 tips to help you guys during a flare-up. All right, so number one is you're gonna want to identify the trigger. I know I can totally drive myself crazy, like thinking like, oh my God, what did I eat? You know, like what is causing this? Like, is it just stress or did I actually like ingest something that is doing this to me, you know? So I think it's really helpful to keep a food journal. I keep one and I write down everything I put into my body for that day and the times and then any symptoms that I happen to have. And I'll go over it every couple of weeks and kind of look at it to see if there are any patterns that jump out. But you know what? I'm actually going to go more in depth into keeping a food journal in another video. So yeah, one, identify the trigger. Next, now that I have identified the trigger, I'm gonna move on to my mantra, which is, for me, I just tell myself like, I know you're not feeling good right now. It's because of X, Y, and Z, whatever it may be, but this will not last forever. Tomorrow is a new day and tomorrow I will feel better. So I just kind of keep telling myself that, like I just have to wait it out. And that gets me to number 3, meditation. I actually really love doing self-healing meditations. I have a guided meditation that I use. It's on my phone. It's just like a podcast that I subscribe to. It's actually called Mindful in Minutes. So if you guys want to check that out, I highly recommend it. Every once in a while, she'll do a self-healing meditation. So if you just kind of go through and find it, I'm sure there are other ones that you can find on YouTube and stuff. Then number 4 is fasting. Fasting is such a great way to actually get your body to jumpstart the healing process, because the more that you are putting into your body and asking it to break down and digest, the less time and energy that it actually has to help heal what's gone wrong. So if I have a particularly bad food exposure, I'll go as long as I can without eating until I'm like absolutely starving. And then I'll eat, because then I know that like my system has had a chance to catch up and to do the work that's like necessary to get me back on track. So that brings me to number 5, bone broth. So when I actually do start eating again, I'm gonna start with something that's really easy to digest, like bone broth or soup, which is why we're making this recipe here today. Like I mentioned before, it's full of collagen, which is going to help heal that irritated gut lining. I'm actually going to have another video where I make soup, so keep an eye out for that. The next thing I like to ingest after I break my fast is green juice. I actually have a recipe for this on my channel. It's like one of my first recipes, so I'm sorry, it's not great. But you should definitely check it out. It's a great recipe, it's super delicious, and it's packed full of ginger, an amazing anti-inflammatory, right? So that's, not only do you have the collagen going in there to help with the gut lining, but you also have the ginger to calm down the inflammation. I also like to drink herbal tea. My favorite is the lemon ginger one. I don't know which brand it is, but I mean, there are so many different lemon ginger teas that are amazing. But my other favorite one is the detox tea by Triple Leaf. That one has so many amazing herbs in there. It's got like licorice root and slippery elm. And it actually helps to like clear out gunk from your liver, which I know it doesn't seem like your liver is going to be affected when you're having digestive issues, but your liver actually helps to filter out all of the stuff that you eat as well, not just like alcohol and things like that. Okay, so tip 7 is go for a walk. Which I know you're not going to feel like going for a walk when you feel terrible, but I swear to you, if you just go for like a leisurely walk outside in your neighborhood, it's going to help stimulate your digestive system. There's also really great walking meditations you can do too. Walking also has a really great way, especially if you're walking outside, it has a great way of lifting your mood and making you feel less stressed. And I know that having digestive issues is very stressful. So I swear, give that a try, it will help. Or if you're a gym person, you could do a little light exercise at the gym. You don't want to do anything too heavy because that actually can ramp up your IBS symptoms. Or if you like yoga, you can do that too. They actually have special yoga videos for digestion. I know Yoga with Adriene does some, so check those out on YouTube. So next is rest. I know I have trouble with this one because I just feel like I'm being so lazy and not like being productive enough, but it's actually really important that you rest. When you can conserve energy, your body can use that to heal itself. And lastly is distraction. Don't focus on the pain, the discomfort, like it's just gonna make it worse. So binge something on Netflix for a few hours while you're resting up, or, you know, listen to a good audiobook, read, whatever you wanna do, but just distract yourself. All right, guys, those are my 10 tips for dealing with an IBS flare-up, and I hope they come in handy for you. Probably for Thanksgiving coming up. I know that's like a really tough day for people with like dietary issues and IBS and just like restrictive diets and stuff like that. But you will get through it, I promise you. And if you're feeling like crap the next day, hopefully you prepped some bone broth and you can have some waiting for you. Okay, so now we're just going to let this pressure cook for 2 hours, and then we will be back to finish it off. Hasn't even pressurized yet. All right, guys, our bone broth has been pressure cooking for 2 hours on high, so let's take a look. Ooh, it smells so good. Very lemony, very gingery. But you see how much liquid there is in here? It's still up to the max line because when you're pressure cooking with the lid, the liquid is condensing back down. So nothing's evaporating. So now, okay, so if we stick our spoon in here, it goes all the way up to there. I don't know, that's just kind of like how I measure when it's done. I know it's done when it's like right above the spoon there. So now we're gonna turn this on the saute setting, and we're just going to let it cook with the lid off to reduce it. Get rid of some of that liquid and to concentrate the flavor and the collagen. So the thing that like sucks about the Instant Pot is that you can only saute for 30 minutes at a time. So I'll actually just hit the saute button, set a timer on my phone, and go do something else, and then come back and make sure to turn it back on. We're gonna do this for an hour and a half. Well, between an hour and an hour and a half. That's why, because we're doing the spoon measurement, so you'll see. Okay, so I know it's done when it's kind of to this point on the spoon, so I just stick it in there and measure it like that. You'll see it's still all the way up here, so it's got a ways to go. Okay, so this is where our bone broth is at after 30 minutes on saute. Put our spoon in there to measure it. It's still got a ways to go. So we're gonna turn back, we're gonna hit the saute button again and let it keep cooking. All right, guys, here's our bone broth at the 1 hour mark. So let's go ahead and put in our spoon and measure it. It's about here, so I think that's gonna be pretty good for today. So now we're just going to take this inner pot out and let it cool. Okay, guys, our bone broth is finished cooking down, so now we're gonna strain it. So if you see this skin looking layer on it, that's a really good sign. That's how we know that it's gonna be like nice and thick and like full of collagen. So I just have a wire mesh strainer here, and I'm gonna start to pull out the big chunks. So all these chicken pieces here, you totally don't have to throw them away. Sometimes I will pick the meat off of the bones and like mash up the carrots that are in here, and I will use it as dog food for my dog. Dogs aren't allowed to eat like garlic and onion, but neither can I, so it's perfect. Oh, look, this bone is like totally broken. Yeah. All right, there's still a bit of juice coming out, but I'm just gonna dump this over here, and I'm gonna save that for my dog. Okay, that's most of the big pieces, so now I'm just going to pour this through the strainer. Ooh. Okay, get all these bits into the strainer. Get out all that flavor. Okay, that's good enough for me. All right, now we are just gonna let this come to room temperature. Once it does, we're gonna cover it with some saran wrap, and throw it in the fridge overnight. And then tomorrow we're gonna come back and we're gonna scrape off all the fat and like impurities and stuff. All right, see you guys tomorrow. All right, guys, we have our bone broth here. It's been chilling overnight in the fridge. You can see it's all the fat on top has congealed. It's like a weird green color. I think that happens from the herbs and stuff. So now we are just going to scoop it off because you don't want to eat this. It looks gross. Like, see how it kind of just like has a lot of structure to it. It's okay if you can't get all of the fat. You just want to try to get like most of it. It's a gelatinous liquid. Okay, so now we're just going to put it in I have some leftover deli containers that I just like to keep it in the fridge. You could also keep this in the freezer and then defrost it when you're ready for it. You'll see that there is some like kind of like scuzz in the bottom. I don't package that up. I just leave it in the bowl. I know it seems like that was a lot of work for only like 2 quarts of liquid, but this stuff is very concentrated. So you'll see like if you want to use it in soup, you'll actually only use like half of this in a soup and then use the rest with water because your soup will get like really thick and weird. Or at least that's how I like to do it, and I like to like stretch it out, you know? All right, so this is what was left in the container. I typically just like to pour a little bit of this out of the fridge into a mug in the morning, warm it up, and then just drink that. I actually like drink it on my way to work. It's really hot, but it's really good too. It's not like thick and like viscous when you warm it up. So if you're like scared of that texture, don't worry. It has like a nice rich flavor. It's very lemony. There's a hint of ginger in there, and it's got like a nice like herbal kind of like undertone. I don't know about you guys, but I love sipping on bone broth in the fall and the winter, so it's perfect timing. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, go ahead and subscribe, and go follow me on YouTube. Go follow me on Instagram, and I will see you guys next time.